Now, your mother's name was
Ingeborg.
So that was your her sister's married name?
No. Her sister didn't marry until she was 56 years old. And then she only married that man because he wanted her to, so she would inherit all the things he had. He was a banker. He had lots of money and a beautiful villa in Copenhagen. And he didn't have any children. And my aunt had taken care of his wife for years while she was ill. And so he wanted to marry her to be sure she would inherit all those things. And then she took care of him until he died.
Then was he quite a bit older than she?
Oh, yes. He was in his 80s, I think, when he died. And I know he was in his late 70s when he married her.
Oh, I see. Now, you said her name. How did you spell her name? Christine? No, I mean her last name.
B-A-U. That was Mother's maiden name.
Oh, that was your maiden name?
Yeah, that was my grandfather's name.
I thought it was
B-A-U.
Oh, I thought it was something like Borg or something.
No.
Oh, it was B-A-U. It was your mother's maiden name?
Maiden name. My grandfather's name.
And then she married Wilhelm, I guess.
Wilhelm Mahlig.
Mahlig. And how do you spell it?
M-A umlaut. You know those two little dots on top of the A? H-L-I-G.
Oh, I see. And let's see, how many sisters did your mother have?
Two.
2 sisters.
And one brother.
Oh, and a brother.
And his name was Christian. Christian and Christine. And her sister's name was Bertha. That's why my sister was named Bertha.
Oh, I see. And there were no twins in her family?
No.
But her sister was born on the same day she was?
On the same day, 2 years later.
Mm-hmm. Here is an album of Christmas cards, and take a look at those.
You know, these are beautiful things. I never knew they had such beautiful cards, you know, when they have them advertised in these magazines.
Now, these cards in the album are more expensive than the ones that we have as samples in a box, but they're pretty to look at.
Aren't they gorgeous? Now, look at this box here, all tied up, you know, with ribbons. Oh, isn't that pretty? Mr. and Mrs. Robert Jones. Well, the Joneses have good taste, don't they? Oh, isn't this sweet?
The drummer boy.
Yes, isn't that darling? Did you see that on the TV last year? The drummer boy?
Yes, it's so sweet.
And the music, I love that.
And they bring it back every year. There's special programs like the Nutcracker Ballet.
Right.
The children love that.
Yes.
And they usually see it twice each season.
Oh, I think it's just wonderful that they have these things. That one program about Christmas, what is the name of it? Oh, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I can't even say
Burl
it.
Ives.
Oh, isn't he
the one with the voice that narrates it, I think? Oh, yeah, it's so cute.
And the first time I saw it, Grandpa saw it too.
Oh, so you enjoyed it
and
together.
And we loved it, you know.
How cute.
We loved it,
yes. That's a beautiful religious card right here.
This one is gorgeous. Yeah. Does it open?
Yes. They all have a little verse inside.
Oh, yes. May the spirit of Christmas, which is peace, the beauty of Christmas, which is hope, and the blessing of Christmas, which is joy, be yours in abundance today and always. Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that sweet? Yeah.
Oh, it's such a beautiful card. It looks like hand painted.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
Now, your mammy in South America made a little doll, and she stuffed it with her own hair. Can you tell me a little bit about your mammy, what her name was, and what she looked like, or how she made the doll and how old you were or something?
Well, I was a little girl, I must have been about 3 years old, and I never had a doll. They had to send away for it. They had catalogs and things, and they had to send for everything. And so she decided she was going to make me that doll. And she didn't have enough hair of her own to stuff it. And so she went to her friends and got some more hair, and she stuffed it so tight into some black material. And that lasted and lasted and lasted. And it was sateen, black sateen. And Mother had sent for it. And so then she made little eyes with black and white beads. Mm. And she sewed them on the face. And then she made little red beads for a mouth. And then she put some hair of her own hair on top of the head. That hair I wore off, just playing with the doll. Yeah. And I loved that doll. I used to take it to bed with me when I was a little girl. And, it was just the most beautiful thing I ever had. And I don't think in all my life I had lots of dolls after that. Mm. But I don't think I ever loved a doll as much as I loved that one. And that was my little mammy. That's what I called my colored.
Oh, doll.
Yeah, I called the doll Mammy.
Oh, I see. Because it looked like the Mammy. That
right, right.
Was your Mammy thin? Was she tall?
No, she was chubby.
Yeah.
My mother was kind of chubby too, you know. So I loved to just cuddle up to her, you know. And she was just a lot of softness to love.
Yeah, how cute. Yeah. And now she
raised all of us, really. She took care of us.
How old was she, do you think?
Well, she must have been in her early 50s when I was a little girl.
She was. And you were what, about?
Well, she took care of me right after I was born.
Oh, from that very beginning.
She took care of my brothers, all 6 of them.
So how old were you when
sister,
she presented the doll to you?
About 3.
About 3. Was it a gift for your birthday?
My birthday.
It's for your birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know she was making it for you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't know about it?
I didn't know anything about that. That's right.
Did she wrap it up before she gave it to you?
No, but she had made some clothes for it, too. Yeah. Exactly the kind of clothes she wore. You know, and my mother had cut them out, and she sewed them, because my mother taught her how to sew.
Yeah.
And I guess that's all about that doll.
Yeah.
But I remember that a year later, on my 4th birthday, my father sent for a real doll for me.
Oh, I see.
And it was a lot bigger than that black doll. Yeah. But to me, it was never the real thing.
Did you ever take the black one to bed with you? Was it
always?
You always took it to bed with you?
Always.
And do you remember how she gave it to you?
No, I don't remember that.
Did she give it to you personally, or was
she might have just put it to bed, at night. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what was your Mammy's name?
I don't know.
Was she named? You once told me.
Christine.
Christine, named after your mother's sister?
No, my mother's sister. Yeah, her older sister. His name was Christine. Yes. I think that's why they named her Christine, because she was Christian by my father, who was a missionary there.
So
at the time.
He christened her
Christine, yes.
Oh, I see. You mentioned a place that you said was like paradise.
It was near a small river. And we used to take the train. Mother used to take Johnny, my brother. He was about 15 then. And I was 11 and a half. And we used to take a train and ride out into the country. And from there we would hike into the mountains. And there was a place where we used to eat lunch, a small inn. And from that inn we would wander off into the forest. And there was a creek, and it would go down the hill and over rocks, and it was like a small waterfall. And Johnny and I would put on our bathing suits, and we would stand under that small waterfall and just have a wonderful time. And to me, that place was always the way I pictured it could be in paradise.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. Now, you said you took a train. Where were you living at the time?
We were living in Herrnhut, which was a small community of the Church of the Brethren, the United Brethren. My father had been the missionary for them for 22 years in South America, and Mother had come back there to live because my father's cousin lived there. My father's cousin and my father were brought up like brothers. And so she thought, she would be happy there.
Oh, and how do you spell the name of that village?
Herrnhut, which means a man's hat.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Her is a man, and Herrnhut is a man's hat.
Oh, I see. Now you said that your father's cousin lived there also. What was his name? Do you remember?
Oh, that was Uncle John. My beloved Uncle John.
Oh, that was your father's cousin. Oh, I see. It was on his side of the family.
Right. And Uncle John was so good to us. And so was his wife. She was very good, too. But she never had any children. And she loved Johnny, because Johnny was more on the quiet side, and I was more the tomboy. But Uncle John, he was so good and sweet to all of us. Yeah. Wintertime, Uncle John would come sometimes, and he had a sleigh, and he had a horse. And there were bells on that sleigh, and he had furs in the sleigh to keep us warm. And he would come and ask Mother if I could go with him on a little business trip. He used to go from town to town and sell gloves. He made suede gloves by hand, and he had some people working for him. And we would go off into the snow, and sometimes it was cold. And I would crawl into those furs, and only my nose and my eyes would stick out. And Uncle John would look at me, and he'd say, I look like a little rabbit looking out of the furs. I loved those days. I was about 7 or 8 then. Yeah.
When I was a little girl, there was a little game you used to play with me, and you take your fingers and you'd start at my knees, and you'd kind of climb on up to my ribs and up to my hair or something. Do you remember that?
I'll try. It's been such a long, long time, but here goes. Hier kommt ein Mäuschen, es will in das Häuschen. Es kann nicht rein. So muss es eben klopfen. And you take your finger and you knock on your head. Or you pull on your hair and you say, or maybe you should ring the bell,
Isn't that cute? Now, the beginning, what does that mean? Here comes the little mouse?
That means here comes a little mouse, and it wants to get into the house. But for some reason it can't get in, so it must knock on the head, or it must pull the hair to ring the bell.
Oh, yeah, that was one of my favorite things I always remembered.